Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Trollmakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, I love my sports, but, well, I'll tell you, the but part is I must be getting too old for sports. I'm not no expert in sports, but I've followed baseball, football, and basketball for close to 50 years. Um, and I must say that it has tried my uh, love or tested my love for the game, seeing some of the petty stuff that goes on. Now, I'm sure that in every generation there was a degree of pettiness that some people had to deal with or put up with um, being a sports fan. If I could talk about my love for baseball first, not that it's in this order, but I don't know. I think my love for baseball and football were about the same time, 1970, a little bit before that. And I recall one of my earliest memories, and I can't find proof of this. The San Francisco Giants, my favorite team, was playing either the Houston Astros or I don't know what team it was. And I was in my room, and my one of my older brothers peeked in the room, and he said, "What's the score?" As he heard me listening to it on the radio. I didn't have a television, or it wasn't on television at the time. And so I told him it was the bottom of the ninth. The score was 9-3. The Astros, I think it was the Astros, I'm not sure. And there were two out, and the Giants were up the bat. And so he says, "Oh, it's over." And then he walked out the room, closed the door. And the Giants came back and won that game. I believe Willie McCovey hit a grand slam, and I don't know who else, but I can't find proof of that. It's only a memory. But for me, that was, one of the highlights of my watching or listening to, in this case, baseball. I loved, waiting till the last out. Even when I was going to baseball games and I seen people leaving before it was all over. Well, I get it, don't get me wrong, but I stayed till the last out. And then fast forward to Barry Bonds, who is my favorite baseball player, even though he hasn't played in 10 years. And when he was going through his steroid trial, I, being the Barry Bonds fan that I am, I showed up, to court, and I was wearing a T-shirt. It was black and it had orange lettering, and in full advocate mode and activist mode. The what was written on I had made on this T-shirt. What was written on it was, "If Barry goes to jail, baseball can go to hell." And it was my true feelings. I was willing to ditch all of baseball if they had sent Barry Bonds to jail in the steroids scandal. Do I believe Barry Bonds used steroids? Yes. But the fact is, I was so annoyed at the fact that Major League Baseball was calling Barry Bonds a cheater when Major League Baseball for 50 years cheated all black players out of the opportunity to play baseball. And so, it was something that, hey, I couldn't deal with it. In 2007, I believe, when the trial began and so wrapped up a couple of years later, in the back and forth issue, you know, Barry Bonds ended up beating the whole thing. Even though he was convicted, it was overturned, stuff like that. However, and I understand that even this past week, Barry Bonds has been given a position in the front office of the San Francisco Giants, which I applaud. But the fact that I see such a dwindling role for black in Major League Baseball, it's troubling. And though I still will get excited about the Giants, it's only because I like the way they've conducted business. The issue of the San Francisco 49ers, however, it has been 3 years where I have not watched or listened to a 49er broadcast. And it's my protest of the way I say they left the city of San Francisco. Now, I'm not going to get into that. They're gone. In fact, I call them the Santa Clara 49ers. However, I probably will never accept the fact that I'm not a 49er fan. It's hard for me to swallow that I actually, as much as I love football, the favorite sport, it's coming to a situation where I may have to stop watching all football instead of just my little old protest against the San Francisco 49er situation as I viewed it. But that brings in the quarterback, Colin Kaepernick. Now, I accept the fact that he's no longer a 49er. I like his style. Is he the best quarterback I've ever seen? Absolutely not. In fact, the best football game I claim I watched was the San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints in a playoff game a few years ago where Alex Smith was the quarterback. But the way the NFL is treating Colin Kaepernick, no. I'm ready to give up my whole watching of football because I'm just so... I see so much hypocrisy and racism involved in the sport that how can you sit in front of a TV like myself and root on any team? And so it's strange. Why am I mentioning my love of sports seemingly go out the window? Because I'm surprised. And though I have said that my next team, favorite team in the NFL will be Team Kaepernick. Whichever team he's on, that's the one I'm going to root for, including if it's against my San Francisco 49ers. Now, I'd like to see that actually happen. Why? Because I can't, I don't know what it's like not to root for the San Francisco 49ers as a sports fan. However, then we go into the Golden State Warriors. I am so annoyed of the situation where they're coming to San Francisco. Why? Because how they're coming to San Francisco. I've described before, picture it like this. You got 10 marbles, and your next door neighbor has 1 marble. Your 10 marbles are very nice looking marbles, but your next door neighbor's marbles, 1 marble, is gorgeous. And in an attempt to make your marble collection look better, you steal your next door neighbor and best friend's 1 gorgeous looking marble. But that's what I think that Mayor Ed Lee and City Hall was doing when it helped the owners of the Warriors move to where they're planning to build an arena. I don't think that they're going to succeed. However, I know in my heart, as much as I love to see NBA action, I won't be able to watch all the other teams and not the Warriors. I see hypocrisy in the Warriors coming from Oakland to San Francisco to the point that I can't celebrate it. And I can't celebrate it as a human or a fan of the game. And so it's a situation that I never thought I would see the day. You know, there's so many people who are real diehard fans. And when I say diehard fans, I'm not saying that I spend thousands of dollars on sports gear, the latest shoes of the favorite player, you know, jersey here, jersey there, hat here, hat there, know all the plays and stuff like that, and the players. I can name all of the Warriors. I can't name 2 49ers. I can't name but 2 Giants. Because I'm just basically losing interest. And I think that's sad. And what's worse is if I see this, suppose more young people see what I see, and they get a conscience, and they get some integrity, and they decide, I got something else better to do. Now, if I could just briefly get off this subject, just to make a point, I heard this week that a study was conducted, and 1 out of 8 millennials, those are people born around the year 2000, 1 out of 8 can't change a light bulb. Now, is it that bad that we are so disconnected with young people that some of them can't even change a light bulb? When I was describing this situation to my brother, I said, it should be 1 in 1,000. And he responded, no, it should be no kid should be to where they can't at least change a light bulb. He had a point. But the fact of the matter is connecting it is what is important in life. On the one hand, you have me, who is losing interest in sports, and I'm troubled by it. And my integrity can be challenged on several issues. But when it comes to racism that I perceive and hypocrisy, no. And on the other hand, young people are so disconnected with doing things that are necessary, that they're so into whatever video game or whatever they're into. 1 in 8 can't change a light bulb. Now, I understand that light bulbs have changed over the years. It's not as simple as screwing them in. In some cases, it's more simpler. This may seem strange to you, but I remember hearing a story a few years ago where there was a fire in a college dorm, and there were 7 college students in this dorm, and every one of them called home versus dialing 911 to get the fire department out. I lie not. Google it. I guarantee you it's there. Now, how is it that we are in a society to where young people don't even have the sense to dial 911 when there's a fire? Now, that's troubling. Now, I said all of that to say, sure, we all need to have our priorities in order. And quite frankly, mine's in the sports area, I think, are in order. I listen to sports talk radio, and that too I may have to give up on because, quite frankly, though I know that I get an awful lot of beautiful stories from listening to sports stories about sports figures and stuff like that, they're very encouraging, a lot of them. But some of these people, they're disconnected with life. I'm telling you, it's troubling that they can't think beyond sports. And I'm sure that there are people who, like in the days of Hank Aaron, where when he was approaching taking over as the home run king, he was getting death threats just because he was ready to break the home run record by Babe Ruth. People were calling him and sending him letters threatening to kill him. Give me a break. Even Barry Bonds, when he was threatening Hank Aaron's home run record, he too received death threats. Now, I understand that there are some people who are just disconnected from life. And I honestly think that I've enjoyed an awful lot of good times in my recreation of just watching sports. I got 5 Super Bowl rings. I got 3 World Series rings. I got two and possibly a third NBA championship rings. You know, and I like to say that I'm satisfied, but sure, as a fan, I want more. But I'm realizing it is getting so difficult to root for different sports teams based on the fact that some people, they don't care who they step over uh, to get what they want. And I'm basically talking about owners. You know, the reason why I have an awful lot of love and respect for the front office of the San Francisco Giants is I was around when the Giants were basically on the tarmac going to St. Petersburg, Florida. And the mayor at the time, Mayor Frank Jordan, he assembled a lot of billionaires who lived in San Francisco. He assembled them and said, we can't let this happen, you know, and it didn't. And then a few years later, 7 maybe, you know, that beautiful ballpark was built. I loved going to those games at AT&T Park. And the fact that it was no public money, technically, you could say there was, but no real public money went into the building of that ballpark, and they just paid it off. Uh, I think 10 years ahead of schedule. And so I like what they did. They did not have the typical greed this ownership group, you know, with the Giants. But I see it in the Warriors. How can you want more when you have a waiting list of 30,000 people wanting to be season ticket holders, but you want a bigger slice of the pie, and you want to deny the greatest fans, in my opinion, in any sport, who have supported the Golden State Warriors through thick and thin. You want to hop over thinking that the grass is greener in San Francisco. Well, it's the money. And sadly, I can't. No. There's no way in the world that I can get behind that. And the Warriors exit, I honestly believe that the owner of the San Francisco 49ers, Denise York, was tired at the fact that though we all agree Candlestick Park needed to be replaced, she was tired of looking at the impoverished people right next door, because it was located in the most depressed area of San Francisco. And how can a billionaire enjoy her billion when she looks right next door to poverty? That's just my personal opinion. You can come up with all the reasons in the world about why the 49ers left San Francisco. But I've been a football fan long enough. And I know when you come up with excuses for this and for that, and you just want to get out and you think that you're the king and you want to be treated like the king, well, even though this woman, she wanted to be treated royally, and, you know, city leaders say, oh, wait a minute. We didn't do this for the San Francisco Giants. Why should we do it for you? you know. And at the time, hey, they had a few Super Bowls under their belt, but got an attitude, and they realized that that too played a part. They didn't like the way they were being treated. I heard a saying, and it came from God to somebody who I once knew. The person has passed. But he said when he was praying, he was complaining to God about how people were treating him. But God knows everything. And he said where he was praying, no one was around to hear his prayer. And he heard a voice respond, it's not how people treat you, it's how you treat people. And quite frankly, I'm seeing how sports today, they're doing the things that they're doing. And we know all of the scandals that are going around. And yet, owners, they're treating not only the fans, but even their players certain ways that is getting hard for me to continue to watch. I didn't know about brain injuries. I looked at a helmet on a guy's head, and I thought he was protected. I didn't know that you can get concussions that could have lasting effects way beyond your careers. Didn't know it. NFL knew it. They were hiding it. Now, that's not going to stop me from watching a football game, but I can't. There's no way in the world that I can, in good conscience, be an activist against racism and then on Sunday afternoon pull up a chair and watch and root for racism on TV. Can't happen. Something needs to happen. People need to wake up. And if they do wake up, sure, there will be some great people who will, take their sports income, as Colin Kaepernick did, and do the right thing. When Colin Kaepernick pledged $1 million of his own income, his own paychecks, to a cause that he felt needed his support. Jed York, the CEO of the 49ers, was given credit for matching that $1 million donation. But where did he get the million? He got it out of the foundation, the 49er Foundation. It didn't come out of his pocket, but yet he got equal credit. Well, give me a break. A lot of people, they think that they're pulling the wool over people's eyes. Well, no. When Jed York is willing to pull $1 million out of his own pocket, then I'll begin to think, well, maybe he is a decent human being. I don't think Jed York is racist, but I can't say the same about his mother, and I'm not one to talk about a person's mother. But the issue is something has to happen. And I hope to God that something does happen, not only for the fact that I want to see more sports, but there's some great people who play sports. Good night.